In June 2002, Parliament passed the Access to Information Act, paving the way for the empowerment of the Jamaican citizenry and the development of a knowledge-based society. It ushered in a paradigm shift from a culture of government secrecy to one of more openness, as people gained a general right of access to official government information that would otherwise have been inaccessible. The Act allows public access to credible information so that citizens can better engage in national decision-making while ensuring that there is greater transparency in governance.
The right to access is about strengthening your other fundamental rights, your right to freedom of expression, your right to receive and impart information. And we believe that this law and a greater understanding of it will redound to the benefit of the country as a whole as we seek to achieve Vision 2030.
The Act aims to reinforce the fundamental democratic principles of a transparent government that's accountable to its people. It also supports increased public influence on and participation in national decision-making and greater knowledge of the functions of government.
Individuals, media, civil society groups, researchers, all have been able to enhance their information goals and objectives, from challenging government policy and actions to making informed inputs in policy, legislation consultation, and assessing the expenditure of public funds.
The legislation also serves as a useful tool in investigative journalism.
So, for example, when government is expending funds in relation to projects, in relation to contracts, of major contracts or even small contracts that impact upon the daily lives of individuals, they can use the law to get the information that they want, copies of contracts, to see who is the contractor, who is funding the projects, and so on.
It's been a very consultative and engaged approach between civil society as the stakeholders and the unit as the government arm charged with implementation. We've been able to dialogue around issues, we've been able to talk our way through how things need to be worked out, how they need to be improved.
The Access to Information Unit leads and guides the implementation and administration of the Access to Information Act, the ATI. The unit falls within the Information Division at the Office of the Prime Minister. It provides guidance and training for government bodies on how to interpret and administer the Act, identify and address difficult or problematic issues arising from implementation of the Act, and policy recommendations.
Of course, we have information that is exempt, and you can understand why we do. We have to protect certain things, people's right to privacy, and certain sensitive government information. But outside of those exempt categories, there is no reason why you cannot have access to any government information.
The ATI unit also has the task of monitoring compliance levels in the various ministries and agencies of government. It's also responsible for educating the public on their rights and obligations under the Act.
We teach communities how to use the Act, how to think about the challenges they're having and where they could use the Act to get the information. So we've had things like Action Mother asking for and getting the answer paper for her child in GSAT because she thought the child had been given a lower mark than they deserve.
So what about the cost? Well, the Act says persons can only be charged for the copy of a document, and depending on the kind of information or where it's being accessed, you may not even be faced with that charge.
Most of the government agencies, ministries, departments, they have websites, they have information officers, they have communications experts within the ministries and agencies.
In fostering a culture of knowing, the ATI unit established the Access to Information National High School Competition in 2008. It marks the celebration of International Right to Know Day, observed on September 28, and International Right to Know Week, also observed in September.
It really is to engage young people in understanding what this access to information law and right is all about, to ensure that they can think critically about governance issues. We promote access to information year-round to ensure that members of the public are aware of their rights to access government information, as well as their rights to use the law, and also their rights to appeal when decisions are taken that are adverse to them. in terms of their appeal rights, there are checks and balances in the system. So state agencies, public authorities, as they're called in the Act, can deny access, but they must give specific reasons.
And of course, public authorities can face criminal sanctions for breaching the law. Going forward, the process is expected to improve.
Important though legislation is as a critical first step in a comprehensive plan to improve access to information, the fact is if we're truly benefit, then access to information cannot be confined to a static request. Information or data accessibility must move further to embrace open data, thus placing more responsibility on government to provide the public with clear, objective, and complete information about its policies and decisions on an ongoing basis.
A new communications policy for government will meet that objective and foster even greater communication with all the different stakeholders and members of society.
And I believe that if we allow our citizens that access to the information, give it to them in a timely manner, it will help them to develop, it will help our country to develop.
The Access to Information Act, giving people the right to know and the power to make change. For more information, contact Access to Information Unit, 529 South Odin Avenue, Kingston 10, or by email to ati@cwjamaica.com or call 968-8282.